So I will assume that based on the
directional.
I'll assume based on the questioning earlier that we do have an audience with a working knowledge of DNS. So I will probably skip some of the introductory material I had written earlier. How many, can I get a show of hands from the audience, how many people know what passive DNS is? All right, looks like about 1/4 to 1/5 of the audience. Unfortunately, this slide deck doesn't include the detailed explanation of passive DNS. So we'll look at this diagram right now, which shows the typical deployment of recursive DNS caches. You note that there's a distinct hourglass shape to this, where you have a lot of clients that are trying to look up DNS names, and you have a whole lot of DNS zones that have content that those clients are trying to reach, since obviously there are hundreds of millions of .com names, millions of names in other zones, and presumably some portion of those are trying to be looked up by clients. But you have a very narrow you have a very narrow waist in the middle where the DNS caches are, which mediate between the two. So this makes a natural choke point where we can capture the traffic that occurs between the caching servers and the content servers. Note that none of those servers are clients, so we never ever monitor an individual client's request. We're not interested in the privacy debate that causes. We're not interested in spying on users. What we would in fact like to do is replicate the DNS information that we see over time to build a semi-coherent view of the DNS as it exists at a particular time. So basically sort of a DNS time machine, basically. So this has a number of uses. About 6 years ago, a person named Florian Weimer invented this technology, and he demonstrated that it was possible to make a significant impact on the ability to monitor e-crime that utilizes the DNS for rallying purposes. Fast flux botnets in particular are extremely noisy in passive DNS because they're changing all the time, and those changes get picked up. So what we would like to do is turn this into a reliable tool, which we have attempted to do with some of our engineering work, and unfortunately most of those slides have gone missing. Okay, we'll go straight to the demos. Here's a picture of where we put the passive DNS sensor, and it grabs the traffic and forwards it off to our Security Information Exchange, which we'll mention no further except to say that it allows us to get the data into a database. Ignore this. This will not be on the quiz. Let's do the example live. All right, this is our web interface, and let me log in. All right, our first example, should I increase the zoom somewhat? Let me increase that. First example is going to be unauthorized data. So how can we find someone attempting to insert unauthorized data into the DNS? And it turns out that certain TLDs make this very easy because they need to have glue records registered. Glue records are what allow you to find name servers in lower 5 minutes. All right, here's the example. We're going to put in star.google.com. Does that say google.com? And bailiwick, I can't explain that, but it means zone, basically. We would like to look at the google.com records in the top level com zone So we see what VeriSign publishes in the TLD for Google.com, not anything that Google publishes from their own name servers. And we get 4 matches. Each match has up to 4 timestamps. One pair of timestamps show the date and time that the data was seen in passive DNS, and the other 2 timestamps show when it was seen in the actual .com zone file, which we have access to. In this case, the data was seen in both passive DNS and the COM zone, and in these 3 cases, these records were only seen in the COM zone. So we're going to click on this, and it's going to show us, it's going to do an inverse search for this name. Normally this is a part of the forward matching key of the DNS, and we're going to do an inverse search. And we have 2, can you see these 2 domains at the bottom that appear to have name servers hosted by Google? Well, Google never actually published these a.l.google.com records, so they are in fact illegitimate. We click on this, and we see this fellow has decided that Google.com, the VeriSign name servers, and the root servers are all going to host his domain. For those with operational DNS experience, you know that this is incredibly unlikely. So if we click on this, and click on this, and we see a whole bunch of other domains that someone has decided that will be hosted by the .com name servers themselves. So we found a whole bunch of unauthorized records being inserted into the DNS based on just looking at Google. And we can look at h.root servers as well, and there are some other domains as well. And it's a smaller list. So that's the first example, unauthorized records. I can also show you an example of monitoring, monitoring and a little short. All right, here it is. Vix.com in the bailiwick in the zone com, and Vix.com in the zone Vix.com. And we see that we actually get, this is Vix.com, we see 4 name servers, and in, whoops, let me redo that, name servers. Vix.com, Vix.com, and Vix.com, com. So here are the name servers that Paul Vixie's zone claims, and we see that he's made a change recently on the 4th of July, and according to the com name servers, he only has 4 of them. So this is what's called a mismatch between parent and child NS records. And this is a fairly harmless misconfiguration, but it's still a misconfiguration, and we demonstrated that the DNS database can find these types of misconfigurations. Do we have any time for questions? What's our schedule?
Yep. We have a question right here.
Hello, your first example was Google.com, and maybe this one too. Are you claiming that this is evidence of some kind of attack or bad news, or just
The first one we showed.
Repeat the question.
Oh, he asked if it's if the examples we showed are evidence of malfeasance. I'm not sure. It's certainly inappropriate to claim that the root servers are serving your zone. That might direct traffic towards the root. I would call it a relatively benign type of attack, probably an unintentional non-attack, I guess. But it could be weaponized, sure. Any other questions?
Okay, there's a part on there where it talks about the hard data doing reverse lookups, which I think is part of the beauty of passive DNS lookups.
Yeah, I could be sort of implying this, but yeah, the DNS database can do inverse lookups, which the DNS is definitely not designed for. So I think Eric wants me to do a IP address. Okay, he wants me to do an RData search for. We want to look for address records from net 12. This is going to be limited to 1,000 records. Yeah, sure. There's your matches. So it can look up. The point Eric is making is that it has a huge amount of data and can look it up very quickly. So there's 10,000 records in the net 12, or is that AT&T or level 3? Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of records that have this particular /8. Are we done? All right, we're done.